Internet land, internet people, internets. We're gonna start a little differently today because I want to crack this open. This is an Intangible Tides 10% by volume triple IPA in a tall boy can from the fine folks over at Burlington Beer Co. You can tell Burlington Beer Co. because their design aesthetic is pretty obvious. It's usually pretty close to split down the middle, being the same on both sides, or at least very symmetrical. Anyway, it's a delicious beer, so I'm gonna crack this open before we crack into this review. Now this beer is such an aroma. Like, I haven't touched the can. I'm getting deep hoppy goodness just wafting into my face here. It's just a delicious adult beverage. Lots of real heavy bitter, but finish is pretty smooth. Some pretty citrusy, almost like a tangerine, maybe kind of a grapefruit notes on the nose, but some hints of pine in there. Really, really good. Anyway, we'll leave that over here. I'm not making any of that up either. I mean, it sounds pretty made up, but like a really good IPA does usually have a lot of citrus to it, despite being super bitter. Probably where the grapefruit kind of comes in. Anyway, what are we taking a look at today? Oh, sorry, not that one. Dun, 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 dun. This one. What's in here, ladies and gentlemen? Well, first of all, if we notice, this is a... Wait a minute, smaller, but what color's that logo on there? Oh, if you get them in the right reflection, they almost look like that, the same. But, this looks like a bronzy color. This one looks more like a stainless steel kind of color. Could it be? Ooh, look at the fancy little pouch it comes in. That's kind of nice. Now, before I take this out of here, yes, we are talking about the stainless steel Nautilus today. Before I take this out of here, I debated. I hemmed and hawed. I went back and forth. I probably should have asked Marco Wong reached out to me, sent these out to me. I probably should have reached out before I did what I did, but I realized in doing a review, the way I do reviews, sometimes I really want to show it off factory, and sometimes I really want to show it off polished. And this one, it needed a polish. So I really kind of wanted to be able to show you the finish that it came with, but I really wanted to give it a good, honest review, and for me, it needed to be polished. Now, it comes with a brushed finish, and all things being fair, one of the big reasons I wanted to show that finish, but also one of the big reasons I wanted to get rid of that finish, is I just didn't really like the brush finish that came on it. It wasn't terrible, but I'm just not a huge fan of brush finishes. The brushed finish was a little uneven in some places. I'm not sure. So the pattern just wasn't even and consistent. We've already got some fingerprints on here, as is wont to happen when you're dealing with something polished. Oh, maybe we can see it right there. Yeah, see, so like, I just used the Dremel bits. I didn't actually do any hand sanding, although it still took almost an hour and a half to do it with the Dremel bits, because I went up through the diamond paste. So it doesn't really get rid of a lot of like deep scratches. It just kind of goes over them. So, but the finish isn't that bad. I don't want to make it sound like I'm making a really big deal out of it. And I think if you like a brushed finish or something like that, you're fine. But for me, yeah, I knew it needed to be polished. Hear that? Something different with these buttons. Now, comfort-wise, I really like these buttons. In terms of, I don't really have a problem with these. In fact, I really like these as well, but I know a lot of people have had concerns with these buttons. But for me, these buttons here look nice, but there's a problem. At least a problem for me, I'm not a huge fan of magnetic buttons. Now, these buttons aren't super, super strong magnets, which is nice, so that it's not a big struggle taking them out. But because of that, it's a little easier to wobble them side to side, and they just feel loose. And a loose feeling button to me just takes away from the spinner. So once I get the spin going, or if I get a good grab right in the middle, it's not too much of an issue, but you can still hear it kind of clickety-clack, clickety-clack. And just got to be honest, just got to call it like I say, just not a huge fan. I think, Marco really wanted to try something different with the buttons on these, see what people liked. At the end of the day, if you've been collecting spinners not even a third as long as I have, you've got buttons laying around. And I'm really enjoying the XL Kong buttons on this. So we're going to throw those on there for the rest of this review. All right, that said, now that we've done that, holy poop internet. So it's the same size spinner. I think it's the same size, yeah. Because of the stainless steel versus the gold, it actually makes it look a little smaller, but we're talking the same size here. but it's everything that you would want in a spinner. You know, everybody that was kind of like, oh, I just wish, you know, I don't like brass, I don't like patina, I wish they'd come out with the stainless steel. And you know, hey, it's good, you know, even with just like using some metal polish without even doing the dremeling like I did, like I do things to the nth degree. I think just taking some metal polish will take care of all of that. You'll see the brush marks a little bit, but it'll really smooth it out. So before we were looking at, yeah, just shy, I was at 118, and now we're at 112, 113. So it's not a huge difference. I think early on in the spinner game, I used to think that there was a bigger difference between stainless steel and brass and copper. And copper is a little bit heavier. There's a bit of a difference there, but it's not the huge difference you would expect. Despite that not being a huge difference, we're gonna take a sip of this delicious beverage. Yeah, wonderful. I was debating, seeing if, or not debating, but seeing if there was really a difference in the taste and the texture there, but it's just a nice full-bodied, smooth, triple IPA with 10%. So we could get loopy as this goes on. At 10% should do the job when it's 16 ounces. So anyway, yeah, what is that in, like, you know, if you get like a 4.5%, 5% beer, that's a little more standard, and a 12 ounce. So this is like so that's like three beers worth of alcohol consumption. So that's not too bad. Oh, you can still see some of the polish and stuff in my hand there, that black stuff. But yeah, so this is everything I think you would want it to be. It feels a little bit, not denser, because it's not, you know, heavier, but you can feel the difference. I don't know how you really can, but you know, you can feel the difference of a stainless steel spinner, how it feels like a harder material versus a brass. I've talked about this in other videos. You can feel that here. And it feels nice in this form. It throws really well. It's got all the same wonderful fidgetability, and if you remember, this thing's consistently scored pretty high in my top spinner list. It's one I recommend. And this is, I should say, the mirrored is sold out, but they still have like the patinaed version for like 35 bucks on their website. Are you kidding me? Or not the patinaed, although it does patina better. The satin finish. On their website, which I think you definitely need to check out. If you want one of these, getting that one, and even just doing your own stone wash on it if you don't like a satin finish, for like 35 bucks plus I think the $11 shipping, 46 bucks for a Nautilus. Are you out of your mind? It's an awesome deal. Now this is a little pricier. These run 85, but with the, you know, the machining that's going on with these guys, for as round as it is and what goes into that, right? I think that's not that bad of a deal. Balance is pretty good. Same sort of thing we saw in the last one. If you remember, it's like one corner that seems off. The balance looks worse than it is, because it doesn't really, maybe the slightest, my finger's doing most of that shaking. That's not really the spinner. Maybe I can feel it the tiniest little bit. You know, it's a heavy bar, so you get a lot of the judder, J-U-D-D-E-R. So you do get quite a bit of that. But it just, yeah, it throws and fidgets really well, really nicely, and it's what you would expect from a Nautilus and stainless steel. So all things considered, no surprises. What I will also say is the bearing that's in here is a monster. So I got this, I'm going to be completely honest, with as much fidgeting as I've done with this, I didn't feel the need to hammer on this for days and days and days to give you an honest review. You know, I've probably only spent a total of an hour actually, you know, fidgeting with this guy and spinning it. Maybe a little bit more than that. And I have not cleaned the bearing, and this got shipped from Hong Kong. So a lot of times I find bearings that make a trip on the longboats seem to need a little bit more cleaning. And so I haven't even cleaned this. 9 minutes and 34 seconds on a table spin, and 13 minutes and 24 seconds on a vertical spin in a clamp, just to help keep it steady. Especially with this, knowing it would have good spin times, I really wanted to put a clamp on it. If you liked it, then you should have put a clamp on it. Don't be mad when you see that heat on it. Yeah, what are you gonna say? We're wacky. We're wacky. I haven't recorded a video since like whenever I did that top 20, which I debuted on Christmas, but I recorded it a couple days before, so it's been like over a week for me, which doesn't happen too often. So I feel like I've missed you. I missed you, internets. Look at the spin profile of this. Now again, it's polished. You'll have to put in a little work to do this, but it just looks gorgeous. This is one I'm more than happy to put in a little extra work on. So I was debating whether or not I was going to show you this, but let me just show you anyway. Marco also sent me, he wanted to see me do a little bit of work. Now this is not finished. It's not finished, but he sent me a media blasted one. And I wanted to hammer it and put a peanut texture on it. Now this is not done mainly because It needs a little bit more like breaking in, like it doesn't look too even with that peanut texture. And I think, you know, I reached out to Marco to show him, and I'm like, I'm not really pleased with how this came out, and I'm in agreement with him. I think throwing brass black on all of it and then just kind of rubbing it down, and then maybe trying to rub some extra lines in it, maybe with a Q-tip with some metal polish, just to make it a little more subtle. I think the peanut texture is just a little too defined, but he wanted to send me one to have me do a hammered finish and a little peanut customization, so I hammered the buttons. Anyway, good guys over there. And, you know, it's the Nautilus. It seemed to kind of sneak into the scene, you know. It slowly started making waves, and people slowly started picking it up, and it just seemed like it was one of those slow but steady winners, and people have been asking for it in stainless steel, and now it's out there. So I think there was a limited run in the sense, I think they only made, I think he was saying something like 90 of these guys, and then once they sell out, they're gone. And as of right now, they're still up on there. So if you're thinking about this guy, definitely get it. And the shipping from Hong Kong was actually pretty quick. The 2 times I've gotten stuff from them, it's been, boy, a little over a week, and I don't know if that's standard or it's just my luck, but it seems like it's not one of those, it's not a slow boat deal, so it comes over pretty good. So yeah, I don't know if there's much else to say on it other than, yeah, it's just fantastic. I think personally, especially that without it being polished, absolutely not, I prefer this, but with it being polished and with these Kong buttons on it, I think they're perfect. I actually wanted to try these cupolas. No, sorry, these are the canopies, and I think it's actually pronounced cupola. Someone sent me something. So where did you go? Where did you go, Atrium? Where's your cupolas? Oh, let's just have a sip anyway. There it is. I think these are actually pronounced cupola. But anyway, I wanted to put these on, but the shoulders on these are just a little shallow, and this is actually a pretty wide body spinner, all things considered. But great spin time, feels good, good ergonomics, nice and smooth, and nothing else like it. I mean, the only thing that's even close is probably something like a torque bar, which feels completely different. It's thinner, it's lighter, it feels a little more fastive and more responsive, but it doesn't feel as smooth, and it doesn't have. It's funny how the look of the spinner, I'm reminded of this guy, where it looks like an axe and kind of feels choppy. The smoothness and the weight combined with the judder give this guy a very kind of like heavy, buttery kind of judder. It feels like it looks, which is fantastic. So, all right, I think we're just rambling on and on now. So we're gonna let it go. This is the Nautilus by Nautilus HK. I think I kept joking it was like the Nautilus Limited by Nautilus Classic, but it's Nautilus. I believe it's the Nautilus Classic spinner, but it's by Nautilus HK Limited, which I'm assuming is for Hong Kong. So. One would assume. But hey, you never know. Could be something else. Could be for the high kicks. They could be a fan of the Rockettes, you know, I don't know. So, anywho, internets, we're going to leave it at that. Let's bring it up one more time. Get it nice and close, let you see it. So, a little bit of fingerprints on it, but it's got that nice stamped logo. I love that that's stamped, too. There's just something about it being stamped versus etched or engraved or lasered. It just adds to that smoothness. Because when you stamp it, it doesn't remove material. So it kind of the material has to kind of like round and deform around it. So it gives it a little bit of a smoothness to that logo. And in fact, when I was polishing it, it was getting black in there. I may actually try to put a little black paint because it looked really good when it was black. I cleaned it all out because, you know, I clean things, but just excellent. Excellent, excellent spinner. All right, internet, go get yourself. Oh, so what should we give the recommendations? 2 thumbs up for sure. I sort of talked about it, but since we're trying to be consistent in our reviews here, negatives, right? The buttons I wasn't a huge fan, and the brush finish wasn't as even as I might like at that price point. But again, for me, I knew I was going to be putting the polish on it. So, and I strongly recommend you do the same, unless you really like a brush finish, and then I think you'll be happy anyway. So, 2 thumbs up, internet. Kisses.